with that.
I mean, that's what I mean. From Yaakov, we believe that, right? I mean, when somebody goes to a tzaddik for a bracha or for an eitzah, or he should daven for them. So you're believing that this tzaddik has real better connections than you do.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. But isn't that what we're learning in Sefer HaChinuch on Shabbos?
Yeah,
that the dibur for those that are chashuv actually means more. Okay, I'm gonna switch devices over here. All right, Dave, have yourself a good one.
Recording in progress.
Okay, tonight's daf is action-packed. I mean, I would say it's good we started early because it might take us till the regular end time, even though we started early because of the holiday. But it's really, tonight's one of those Yishmaka daf. We got Lomdus, Musar, Machshava, sports. I even found the sports one in for this stuff. I should maybe see Rabar and you'll guess my sports muscle from this. Okay, what did we get up to?
Mishnah, no? Second Mishnah. The second Mishnah. We're up to the second Mishnah.
We didn't do the second Mishnah? I thought we started.
No.
Okay, recording is on. Can you hit the record?
Yeah, someone hit the record. I don't see Kaplan. I think Parrots did.
Okay, good. Okay, so Zok the Mishnah. Yeah. So we had this before. If you send a fire, basically, if you give a fire to somebody who's irresponsible, potter midinei adam, so you're potter from dinei adam, but you're chayav dinei shemai. Right? Why you potter in the Adam? Because you're a grumma. We're gonna have a lot of grumma tonight also. You're a grumma.
Yeah. Is fire itself a grumma?
That's another shaila. That's the whole Eisha Mishum Chitza or not. But so it's a l'chayr, it's a grumma. And okay, we'll see in the Gemara. Right, but again, if you sent it, if you gave a fire to people that are irresponsible, so then you're chayiv, and you're chayiv dinei shemayim, but you're part of dinei adam. Shalach biyad pikeach. If you gave it to a smart person, you gave the fire to a smart person, that pikeach chayiv. The pikeach is chayiv. Fine. Then echad hevi asa'ar. One guy brings the fire. Ve'echad hevi asa'etzim. And one guy brings the wood. So the one that brought the wood is chayiv because he's the last guy. Meaning, what's fire without wood to spread it? Right. So the last guy's chayiv. One guy brings the eitzim. And maybe it's or chayiv. The guy that brings the or is chayiv because again he's the last guy. What's the wood going to do without fire? So you go with the last guy. And then let's say another guy came. And he blew it, or fanned it, however you want, whatever. He made the fire spread. Right. So the one who spread it with his breath or by blowing it is chayev. Lipso haruach. But if the wind came and spread the fire, then kulan putur and they're all potter. Right. We'll have to see in the Gemara why that is. So there's actually a lot in this Mishnah, right? Meaning, at first it says that if you send it with somebody irresponsible, so you're potter midinei adam, chayav dinei shemayim. You give it to somebody responsible, he's the one that's chayav. If one person brings the wood, person brings the fire, or vice versa, it goes with the guy who's the last guy. And if one guy comes and he spreads the fire, then he's going to be chayav. And if the wind spreads the fire, then nobody's chayiv. They're all pot. So we'll see in the Gemara why this is. Samarish Lakish. So right? 3 lines up in the bottom. Nun Zayin Nun Tesam Aves. This that we said that your potter, that's when you handed a coal over to the cheres shaita and cotton, and then they went and they fanned it, right? But if you actually handed him an actual flame, then you're chayiv. My timer. Why? Maisav kagarmuloi, because it was his maisim that caused it, right? Meaning, when the Mishnah says that you potter, that's because you handed him a coal. In order to get a coal into a fire, somebody has to do something in order to get it going. Masha Enke, a fire itself, you hand over a fire itself, there's not much for the guy to do to make that fire spread. That's Chizkiah. Rabbi Yochanan Omer, Afilu Masar Leishaleves, he says, no, even if you give the cheres shaita and cotton a flame, potter, you potter, my time, but tzavsa the cheres garmalai. Because it's the tzavsa of the cheresh that caused it, meaning the cheresh's involvement is what caused the fire to spread, even if you gave him an actual flame. So when would you be chayav according to Rabbi Yochanan? You're not chayav until you give him gavza's thorns on Tamid Aleph now. Salsa is Rashi says wood, kindling. What do you call it? Kindling, right? Sharga with a flame, or shraga. And dahu badai ma'aseh didei garvu. And if you give him everything, right? You give the shait the thorns, kindling, fire, then you basically, it's a recipe for disaster. So then you're going to be responsible, right? Fine. So that is an interesting thing that it's shliach l'dvar avera, right? Why is the pikeach potter? So you see next line in the Mishnah, shalach le pikeach, a pikeach chayiv. Saying pikeach chayiv, meaning if you hand something to a pikeach, and the pikeach is chayiv, right? Why? Because ain't shliach l'dvar avera.
Also because he's responsible enough that he shouldn't be doing damage with it.
Right. So then that's correct.
So if he does,
I gave him the fire.
Yeah, but if he's responsible enough to know what to do with the fire, to not damage, so that he should be chayiv if he does damage. No.
Correct. But I sent him. Right. I sent him, right? So we say ain't shliach l'dvar avera. Right? Yeah. So from here you see that's what the Stipler brings a raya, is that that you see that remember in the beginning we started Bava, we discussed where's the Isser of Nazikin in the Torah? Where do you know that it's usher to damage somebody? We know you have to pay, you have to do this. Where does it say? Are you over on an Isser or not? She says this is one of the rayas. Ain't shliach l'dvar avera. What l'dvar avera? Who says it's an avera to damage somebody? If you damage them, you pay, but who says it's an avera? Right? Right. So that's yeah. Is the talking in the back bothering? Is it loud or is it?
But the Gemara doesn't bring ein shliach l'dvar avera. The Gemara doesn't bring that.
No, but that's a pshat. No, the l'chara is the pshat. Anyways, okay, so fine.
I'm a shtickle with David here.
You're a shtickle with David?
The first mission on Akainus, you said, right? The Shaimer. The Shaimer is Tachas Abaylim. Nichas Hashem Tachas Abaylim. Here he gave it to a Shaimer. Nichas Hashem Tachas Abaylim. So the Shaimer has to pay. Nothing to do with Shliach and Shliach Dvar Aveira. He's a Shaimer. He has to pay.
He's a Shaimer on the fire?
Yeah. Why not?
I don't know. I didn't think it was I don't know. I think it was a din shmira.
If I give someone something of mine to do something with, he is a Shaimer of that thing.
He
might only be a Shaimer Chinam, but he is a Shaimer.
I didn't say you gave it to him to do anything. You just gave it to him.
Then he's only a Shaimer.
Maybe he's just mafker it. Who said he ever kept it? Like for him to have any
Right,
thing.
right, right. Okay. Hold on.
Maybe that's the difference between a pikach and and a cherish or a katan.
You go
Whatever.
over, you go over to a stranger and you just give him something. What is his? He has no connection to you. What is?
For sure, it's ain't shield of the then. You're backing them up for sure. No, then for sure it's not. You just handed them a fire.
Right. So a pikach that you give him a torch, he's like, "What do you want me to do with this?" And he'll immediately put it out because then he's going to be responsible. A shaita wouldn't, and he'll go ahead and walk around and light everything on fire.
I mean, the pashtus is that's ancient with Dvar. Okay, whatever. We got more to do. But that's just the ha'ara that they say on this. Okay, weiter. Shalach bi'ah pikeach chayiv. So pikeach is chayiv. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. And then v'chulu, like we know, the Gemara always does that. It quotes a few words, and when it says v'chulu, the Gemara has nothing to do with the words it just quoted. It's always going on the v'chulu part, right? So here too. Right, this is going on the part where it says if a guy came along and he blew the fire, he's going to be chayiv. Right? Yeah. So what's the lashon of liba? The one that says liba didn't make a mistake, and the one that says niva didn't make a mistake. Because it says with the pasuk says this is this week's parsha, right? This week's parsha, right? The lavaseish with the I'm 4 psukim into the parsha, but I'm saying Reb Dov is on it. The lavaseish, right?
It is.
By
It is.
By
It's
the
a snap.
By the snap.
Yeah.
Yeah, lava say.
Good.
Yeah.
The snap. Good. So it's the burning bush, right? The burning bush. Very good. So this week's parsha, the sibel lavaseish. So you see the word liba, something has to do with burning. Niva, with a nun, like mishtavish tichsiv, bayre nivs fasayim. Created the lips of Niv is talking. Right? So Rashi says, what does that mean? So it means that it's when you talk, so air comes out. Right? So the ruach comes out of us, and that's what blows. Then you blow the fire.
Is that enough to blow a fire? When you're just talking and the air that comes out, it's enough to fan the flames.
Depends how much hot air is coming out of you.
Right. I mean, Shmuel David, you know that's going to be the answer. Come on.
It's all those Mophic haze. It's the Mophic haze doing it.
Right.
Second pasuk's also from this coming Matzah Shabbos.
Motzei Shabbos?
Yeah, Bayre Nifs Fasayim. It's from Yitin L'cha.
I never said Vayitin L'cha in my life, so it's Chatoy Ani Maskir Hayoim. Okay. Anyway, all right. For those joining now, we started a little earlier, so we did be looking for Mishnayos. Remember, we started early, but because of the holiday. But so we're middle of the daf here of Samach Amud Aleph. We're about 7-8 lines down. Yeah, so Labasa Ruach Kula Patura. Right? I'm sorry, not Leva, I don't know how you pronounce it. Lipsa, the Yeshivish way is Lipsa, I think. Haruach Kulam Patura, right? So then the Ruach is all potter. Tanarabanan. Liba v'lipsa Haruach. I say here's a Lamda Gemara here. Liba v'lipsa Haruach. If you blew it, and the Ruach also blew it. So now we have a combination of the person blowing it and the wind. So im yesh bilibuya of kedela levaisa chayiv. If there's enough with the person's blowing it, now I don't know if blowing it here necessarily means with his mouth. It could mean with a fan also, right? Either one. Right? Chayiv. V'im lav potter. But if not, if there's not enough fanning of the fire coming from the human, and most of it's coming from the wind, so then he is potter.
It's Yaakov, why are you not a Kroy once you see the fire getting out of hand to stop it?
Who says you're not?
Well, the fires got out of hand at some point, right? How else did it damage?
No, but I'm sure you're chayiv. I'm sure you're. We're talking about the chiyuvim here. I think
Yeah,
you
that's what I'm
mean.
asking. You see the fact the let's say you see the wind start to pick up and you have this fire in front of you that you've created or brought to being, or you put the fire in front of you and the wind whips up and now all of a sudden there's a huge fire. You see the fire continuing. At that point, what? Because you start, it's why isn't it like also achieve type of bonus?
It's not gonna make you chayiv.
It doesn't have to be a big fire.
You're required to put out a fire whenever you see your friend's money in trouble. You're required to save him, but you're not. That's not going to give you a monetary fee.
I'm saying, let's say it's your fire.
Right. So it's depending. It depends on the wind. It depends on all these variables whether you're going to be chayiv or not. No.
Right, but I'm saying at some point the fire it becomes bigger than just whatever, and it was your fire that you saw became that.
No, it doesn't. It caught on to Reb Chaim Streimer. The guy just put the Streimer for $1.8 million, and all of a sudden, the guy next to him smoking a cigarette and starts burning the Streimer. No.
It could be both. It could be your own fire, and it could be somebody else's fire that you can make go out of control. Right.
You're saying you at some point you don't take responsibility, even though you see it happening in front of you.
At least mina b'nei
yeah.
Yeah.
Even though you see the whole thing happen in front of
you.
Funny's up.
It is, yeah, you're right. So anyway, so the Gemara is saying that if it's a combination of you and the wind, so then the only time you're going to be chayiv is if your blowing is going to be enough to spread the fire. In all the other cases, it's going to be potter. So the Gemara says, "Amai, why should that be? It should be like when you do the malach of Zaira, which is one of the lamed test malachas. So that's called winnowing, right? That's the way you touch it, winnowing. So you throw something, you throw the chaff into the air, and the wind comes and blows it away. So there, you're doing malacha, but the wind is also coming and helping you out.
Well, so that's the whole malacha. I'm not chopping like the Gemara's the whole malacha of Zaira includes. Let's say you want to call it a grama. That is the malacha. The malacha is to ask the wind to help you. Why would that be any shaykhus over here?
Well, let's see how the Gemara goes, because maybe what you're saying is maybe the Gemara's teretz. But let's see. So let's live with the kashas. Let it be when like as if you throw it up in the air and then the wind comes and removes it. So there's going to be 4 teruts into this kasha. Abaye says it's talking about where you're blowing it on one side and the wind is blowing it on the other side. So therefore, it's not the person didn't do anything, right? So memela, that's why it's potter. But if the person taka was involved and helped, then you would be chayiv according to Abaye. I don't know how many pyromaniacs there are here, but when you go make a campfire and you got everybody's trying to blow the fire, you got 2 guys, one guy blowing on one side, blowing on the other side. Nothing happens except each one of them gets full of ashes. But I don't know how many country folk are on here. That's like on the barbecue grill, right? So, so that's essentially what's here. Rav Amar going shaliba beruach mitzuya. He has a different shot. It's all about where they were blowing it, where there was a ruach mitzuya, a regular common wind. The lips of haruach beruach she'ein mitzuya, and then came along this big ruach she'ein mitzuya, a huge gust of wind, and then that's what spread it. So in that case, you're not going to be chayiv. A third teretz kegain de tzimra tzmuri. It's talking about where he was just breathing on the fire, meaning the way Rashi says it is he says you blow into your hands, which is you're really just blowing into the hands to warm up your hands. This is my sports right? You see that they blew into their hands, the pitchers or the quarterbacks, right? So they blew in. hands to, right? So the Rashi is yeah, I don't know if he's referring to sports there or what, but I don't know. I guess for whatever reason, it wasn't enough the hot air coming out of your mouth. You also wanted to put it near the fire. Okay. And Ravashi is a totally different.
Wait, that's what it means? That he was actually blowing his hands, or that's the strength of what he was doing?
I don't know. Rashi says, you mean that's the way he's blowing, the way he blows on his hands. I didn't have that. Okay, very good. Right, Gershon's saying it's a muscle for the way he was blowing. Although I don't know, when I blow on my hands and I'm outside, it's cold. I blow pretty strong. Right?
Try it. It doesn't. It's your breath cools down the stronger you blow. You're getting less warmth for your butt. So if you want to warm your hands up, you breathe a little bit slower.
Uh-huh. Okay. I never really thought about it too much, to be honest with you. Okay.
The only reason I did, I'm doing it right now. My hands are freezing. And then I looked at Rashi and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm doing.
Why don't you cup a cigarette?
That's the thing. I haven't for like, I don't know, a while already. My hands are freezing. I was doing it.
Yeah. Okay. So Ravashi is the hardest terror. It's not hard, but the one that has the most lumbers. Rashi Amar Ki Amrinan Zoyra V'Ruach Mesayasa. This is, I think, what Akiva was getting at. When do we say that you throw the wind up? Right? When you throw the chaff and the wind blows it. Hani Milulin Shabbos. That's by Shabbos. The Melechas Machsheves Asur Torah. The Torah Asur by. Right? We know by Shabbos. That's why. What is a sick ratio work, and why does Shinoi work, and Kelachar Yad, and Malach Hashem Tzricha Legufa, and all these things is because by Shabbos is unique that you have to have intention in order for the malacha to be a malacha on Shabbos, right? And so by Shabbos, when you're throwing up the chaff for it to blow, so then that you're doing what you're intending to do is what's being done. Aval hacha grama ba'almahu. Here, it's just a grama. Ugrama ben izaken potter. Grama ben izaken is potter. Right? Meaning, so when you blow a fire together with some wind, you're just a grama. And when you're a grama ben izaken is potter. Right? So that's why that's meaning, so Nezikin has a unique din in that it's your potter, right?
According to this last answer, if I set a fire because I know a Ruach Mitsuya is coming, and I want the Ruach Mitsuya to make it go into my neighbor's house, why would I be potter?
Because it's still a grum. No?
Not sure. I don't know. Even if Ishmishim Mamayna, Ishmishim Chitza, I don't know if it makes a difference. Why? So the grama part, it's like, I don't know.
I don't know. Okay. I don't know.
Sounds like that case where the guy bent the product close to the fire without actually letting it touch, you know? He was chayiv mishamayim.
Right, because it's not, and it's only because it's a grama, right? It's very hard to understand when it's very hard to understand when grama is and when grama is not, and when do we consider it a grama, we don't consider it a grama. Every fire, even if you take the fire itself and burn something, it's a grama. Right? You touched it with
that's Ishmishim Chitza answers.
That's also part of it. We'll get to that tonight. Don't worry, we have that in tonight's stuff too. Okay, right. Zok the Mishnah. If somebody sends out a fire, now, right, and meaning you lit a fire in your property and it starts to spread, and it ends up consuming wood, stones, dirt. So you're chayiv for that. If you send out a fire and you find what do you call it? Kaitzim is thorns. V'nechal gadish, and it eats a gadish, which is a pile of grain. Oy hakama is a standing pile of grain. Oy hasade, or a field. Shalim yishalim amavar saveiro. The guy who sent out the fire has to pay. Right. So if you sent out a fire, then you're going to pay. What happened to grama? I don't know exactly what happened to grama. Right? I mean, you started the fire in your property, and then today you have to say shivishum chitzav that it's considered a direct thing. Whatever it is, fine.
Why would you say grandma? You say whatever the case is we discussed before, that you caused it.
It has to be, but why isn't the whole concept of fire grama? That's all I'm saying.
Why isn't the concept of your mama, if you hold Asian money, why isn't the concept of your animal destroying something grandma?
Akiva, I don't understand that one either.
What do you mean? The Torah says you're chayiv. You're mechuyev for your mama. What does that mean?
I'm not fighting with the Torah. I'm fighting with my brain. That's all. To try to understand why some things are grama, why some things are not.
Grama is only Lagabe and Adam. The
It's
money
a
has nothing to do
physical
with
act.
grama.
It's a I think grama is a physical thing. It's the game of physics. That's it.
That's it. No,
It's
so
not
let's
Nikei halacha, meaning
Sure.
clearly it has a lot of implications, but it's a physical action that we're donning.
So if a guy shoots a bullet against the wall, and then it goes off the wall, and then goes into, then it hits the guy. You chayiv?
That would be a case where it's potentially a grum.
Okay, so it's really depend how the fire spreads.
Well,
Chayiv.
not if you hold Eisha Misham Chitza or
Okay,
Eisha Misham. If you hold Eisha Misham money, it doesn't matter how it spreads. And if you hold an Eisha Misham Chitza, so then it's directly, we're going to look at it as if it's your direct cause.
Right, so it's even though it goes through over fences and whatever that song is.
Well, that's the normal way of what causes your arrow happens to shoot that way. That would be the way of normal shooting of an arrow.
If I'm not mistaken, even if you hold Asian Mishum Chitza, he holds of Asian Mishum money as well.
Did we say that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure. It's Machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Rishon. I think Rabbi Yochanan holds of Asian Mishum. I forget, but I'm almost positive he still holds of the idea of Asian Mishum money.
Right.
Yes, he does.
He held right. That's I think I'm mixing it up with Rav and Shmuel with Hevel and the bar.
Because they also does.
Yeah. Right, he holds of both. Okay, let's go. We got a lot more to do. So yeah, okay, so Zakti Gemara, Amarava.
By the way, over there, it says over there, by the way, Akiva, talking about where you were able to stop the fire, and you don't do it, then you're foul. There's a case over there of Hayalay Gadra.
Right. I'm just saying, like, there's an idea that if you know it's going to create a fire and you could have stopped it, you're achray for it.
Yeah. I don't know the clear Gedar. Okay, so let's see. So Amar Rava, Lamali the Gazar Rahmana Kaitzim Gadish Kamma and Sada. You know what the pasuk says? The fire goes out and it burns your grain and your standing grain and your thorns and your field. Why all that? Why do you need all that? So tzricha. Because if the Torah would have just written that it went and burnt thorns, Kaitzim is your chayiv because it's common to have fire by thorns. And negligence is normal. Right? Meaning because people don't care about thorns, so they don't care if a fire goes and burns some thorns. But a pile of grain, most people don't keep fire near it. And it's not common to be pasha in it. Let's say not. Because of Rahmana Gadish, and if you say Gadish, Havamina Gadish, Chayev Rahmana, the Torah was Mechayev you for Gadish, Mishum the Hefsin Merubo, because it's a big loss. Hava Kaitzim, the Hefsin Mu'et, but a Kaitzim, that's big deal, so there's a little bit of a loss. Aim Aloi, so maybe I'll think you're not Chayev. Right? So Kamash Malon, that you're going to be chayiv on both. Okay, so that takes care of two. That takes care of Gadish and Kaitzim. Kamma, Lamali. What about standing grain? I don't even know exactly what standing grain is. That means attached to the ground? That's what it means? Okay, so Kamma Lamali, Ma Kamma Bagalui, Af Kol Bagalui. So just like a Kamma is very revealed, right? Everybody could see it because the grain is still standing up. Right? So then only things that are Galu, meaning only things that you see, as opposed to something that's hidden, like we had Taman Be'esh. So then you would be potter on that. Okay, but what about the sheet that holds that you chayiv? Taman Be'esh, or Rabbi Yehuda, the mechayiv and niske Taman Be'esh. Right, according to Rabbi Yehuda, holds that you are chayiv for things that are hidden in the fire. Kamma lamali. Why do you need kamma for standing grain? The rabbis, and one answers, the rabbis call bale kamma. It's coming to include anything that stands up, which means animals and trees, right? Any other examples Rashi says? Balichaim and trees, right? That's what it's coming to include, that you chayiv if they burn to v'rabbanon. How do they know this? The rabbis call bale kamma minolo. How do they know that? Nafkalu me oy hakama. They learn it from the word oy hakama. Rabbi Yehuda, what does he do with oy? He needs to tell you that you're chayiv for each one individually. If you wouldn't say the word oy, so you would think you're only chayiv if you burn a field and dirt, not dirt. You field, standing grain, regular grain, and thorns at the same time. But if you damage each one individually, maybe you'd be potter. So that's why the word oy is coming to tell you that you're chayiv on each one individually. The rabbanon l'chalak minalo, the rabbanon who need the word oy, how do they know that you're chayiv on each one separate? Nafgalu me oy hasadeh, from the word oy hasadeh. Rabbi Yehuda, what does he do with oy hasadeh? I did because of Rahmana oy hakama. Since the pasuk is talking about oy hakama, because of oy hasadeh, it also writes oy hasadeh. So you're not really learning anything out of the word oy, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Just said oy by comma, so it's going to say oy by sada. So sada lamali. Fine. So now why does it say sada? Lasuye lichka nirai the sichsachavano. It comes to include where you have a plowed field, a field that was totally plowed. So fire doesn't really, they don't really get damaged, right? And rocks don't really get damaged from fire either. Maybe they change color, but that's about it. So you would think that you should be, maybe you'd be potter on that. So the word sada is coming to tell you that you're chayiv even on these fields that seemingly won't be affected, right? So when I ask for lichter rachmana sada v'loy boyhana, let the Torah write sada, and then I don't need these. Meaning sada should be all inclusive of grain, standing grain, thorns, you name it, rocks. So tzricha dikas rachmana sada. If it would have just said sada, how would mean a mashup sada in only something that's in a field? Right? But anything else that's not normally in a field, right? Like the karka, that maybe you'd be potter, kamash malan, so that's what's telling you that you're chayiv. So that's why we need all four. Fine. So for the most part now, the rest of the way is I got it to Gemara. Yeah. So Amar Reb Shimon bar Nachmani, Amar Reb Yonason, Ein paranias ba'al ha'olam el b'zman she'rishayim ba'olam. Very hard thing to understand. Punishment doesn't come to the world unless there's Rishayim in the world. Which means that, there's always Rishayim in the world. Right? Unfortunately. Okay, but when the Piranius happens, it starts, meaning it only happens because of the Rishayim. But it starts from the Tzadikim. They suffer first. It's a play on words. When the fire goes out and it finds the thorns. So when does fire go out? Meaning fire as a reference to punishment. There's matcha kaitzim, it's mitzuyin. Well, when you have kaitzim, thorns is always a mushal for bad things. Ve'ena maschelas element tzadikim tchila, and only starts from the tzadikim first. Shenever v'nechal gadish, and eats a gadish. It doesn't say, and it eats the gadish, right? It says ela v'nechal gadish. Shenechal gadish kvar means that when does it start? When does the fire start spreading? Once the gadish is already eaten, meaning once the tzaddikim are already gone, that's when the Peronius gets rolling. Right? So the Pashtus meaning for that is that Hashem doesn't want the tzaddikim to have to see the suffering. So they get taken first, and then starts the suffering. Okay. Tani Rabbi Yosef.
Is that also taich in B'Shosha Rishoim Ba'al Olam? Even before they do their rishus, like Avram Avinu was nifter before Esav started messing up, so Avram wouldn't see it. So Ba'al Olam doesn't mean after Rishoim have done their bad things. It means B'Shah that they come to the world.
What are you saying?
You said before, you asked before, there's always Rishoim in the world.
Oh, that's what
doing stuff. But this is that the Peronius starts before the Rishoim become Rishoim. It's B'Shah Asher Rishoim Ba'al Olam. That means before Esav started doing his rishus, Avram Avinu was nifter. That's Nechal Gadsh.
Right. So what are you saying?
It's not after the rishus is done. Even before the rishus starts.
Oh.
What?
You mean saying that tzaddikim get taken even before the rishus starts?
Yeah.
But that means okay.
Why? Where you get that from?
What?
Where are you getting
Definitely not in this blot.
Avram Avinu, before Esav started doing bad things, Avram Avinu was nifter.
No, that's not. No, I don't. I'm saying.
All right, that's for Chumash class.
Okay, we could discuss that after. But you see from Yishmael, it says Bashar Usham Hashem didn't do anything.
That's you have to go
Yishmael.
You have to go pick one of the most shver psukim in the history of mankind, especially in the middle of this war. Right?
No, but it's a different thing. Because didn't do anything to Yishmael.
Okay, but if you do the math, it's 2 years off. Let's just make it very simple.
Okay,
Yishmael was 15, not 13. When Asa was 15, not 13.
Okay, thank you for that.
So he was already doing bad. Just Avram didn't know about it.
All right. Okay. Let's.
He was doing. He was a closet of a Zaranik.
Right.
2 years.
Right.
You're muted, Rabbi.
That Avram Avinu never went to a PTA meeting. That's what you learned from that.
Oh, smart man, right?
Right.
He might. Maybe that's why.
I want to be like him. I want to be like him.
Yeah, I am like him. All right.
That's just because Sarah Avinu was at Tzedekah.
You're not like him
to go.
The teachers won't know who you are if you come.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, Tony Rav Yosef, my decision. This is also talking about Mitzrayim, but we're a few weeks from now. This is talking about Makas B'chayros. Hashem warned the Yidden, don't leave your houses. Since Hashem gave permission for the mashkis, meaning the what do you call it, Malach HaMavis, he's not going to differentiate between tzaddik and rishayim. So since he's out there killing the bechar, so Mamela, he's also going to get the tzaddikim. So that's why Hashem wanted everybody to stay inside. And when these things happen, when it's a bad situation, the tzaddikim go first. You get caught off in your tzaddik and Russian. So Bachi Rabbi Yosef, so we're saying that the tzaddikim is they're like nothing, that they're the first ones to get punished, right? Again, we're saying that tzaddikim always get punished first. So Rabbi Yosef is saying that they're why? Like we said before, it's a type of them. The sivku neharon nesav tzaddik, because of the ra, the tzaddik goes in first so that he doesn't have to see all the bad things that happen, right? Like we say this, we say with Avram Avinu, whoever's version you want to go with, Yisrael's or Gershon's or whatever, right? Fine. So I'm Rabbi Yehuda Marav, on top of base. La'olam, Yikanas adam b'chitayv. A person should go in when it's good, v'yatza b'chitayv, and he should leave when it's good, meaning daylight. A person when he travels should get to his destination when it's still daytime outside, and leave when it's day. Shouldn't travel at night because it's danger. It's a danger. Nobody should go out of the house until the morning. So Taisus has all sorts of diukim here. Right? Why does it say Knisa before Yitziyah? So he says it's talking about when you're coming from a different city. Right? But Taisus basically says that if you know that it's going to be safe, which is Bisman Hazeh, everybody travels at night. How do you travel at night? Because we know that it's not the same thing. Not the same thing now. Right? Okay. Tanarabanan. Dever Be'ir, this is the Corona Gemaras. Right now, I guess this is the way you would define these. These are Corona, COVID, whatever. Dever Be'ir, if there's a Dever, Kanes Raglecha, bring in your feet, meaning don't go outside. Right? Shenemer V'atem lo say to Ish Pesach Pesach Had Biker, don't leave your house. Right? By Makas B'chayris. V'aymer, Leich Ami, Bay B'chadarechu, Skard L'asach B'adecha. You should go into your house and close the door behind you. On the outside, the chereb, the sword, is going to have avelus, and inside there's also going to be aimer. There's going to be fear. My ba'aimer. So what's the pshat? Why meaning? What's these psukim? Why do we need 3 psukim to prove that when there's a dever, stay home? But maybe that's only at night, because the Makas Becharis was at night. But during the day, maybe you don't. You could stay outside. So Tashema Leich Ami close your doors. Maybe that's only when there's no ema inside. But let's say inside you're also scared. So maybe you think that you should go outside and have at least, meaning if there's fear inside, so then go outside and at least you'll have some companionship, right? It's still going to be dangerous, right? So we know that a lot of people that were alone during Corona, people going crazy. Right, because they were stuck in a house all by themselves with no other humans to interact with. Rava, V'idem Rischa, Habi Sochar Kaveh. Rava, when Hashem was angry, right, which is another like for a dever, he would seal up his windows. T'chsiv, Ki olam mavis b'chaleinu, death is going to come through our windows. Fine, Tanarabanan Rav Be'ir, if there's a starvation in the city, so then spread out your legs. That's what it literally means, right? It means go find food. Right? When there was a famine, so he left to find food. If we say that we're going to go to the city, and there was a starvation in the city, when we died over there. And they died over there. What does it mean, right? So if you're going to say that's only when there's no suffix nefashos. But if there's a suffix nefashos, then don't leave. Meaning you have a starvation in the city that you're in, right? Now, you heard that there's food someplace else, but maybe it's not the safest place in the world. So who says you should go there, right? So the Gemara is saying, when there's a suffix nefashos of where you're going to go to, then don't go, don't leave. That's what you would think, right? So Tashema, they said that let's go to the Machana Aram, and if we live there, we live. Right? So basically, they had a problem, they had a starvation where they were. So if they were going to stay there, they're going to die. So they said, okay, maybe we should run to the other city. We might get killed over there, but at least we have a chance. Right? So then that from this comes out, and the article brings this also in the footnote. These are sugis and avodah zarah, that do you do experimental treatment, right? That could put you in a sakana, but there's a chance that it'll save you. Or maybe you can't, right?
Over here, it seems like it's an ain't Suffolk Moitzimi de Vada. Shouldn't you be to pass the Suffolk about to pass the Vada over here?
What do you mean?
Over there, you're Vada gonna die if you stay where you are. If you leave, it's a Suffolk.
I don't think it's a vada, it's a starvation. Does it mean vada?
If it was a vada, we wouldn't need a pasuk. We wouldn't need a pasuk to teach us that. We just say Suffolk Motzim vada.
That's basically what I'm asking. Why are we not saying that?
I think that's the raya that it's not. That it's not Suffolk Motzim vada.
Yeah, I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew for sure. I don't remember the whole story in Woods and Malachim. Meaning it's possible by them leaving, they would die faster. That's the point.
That's the story of Gehazi and his children.
Was that Gehazi?
Yeah. Alicia's Ever.
Right, so they might have died faster by leaving. That's all. Yeah, I think that they probably would have died where they were, right? But by leaving, it could be they'll be saved, but it could be they'll die faster, right? So that's a major ashkafic shaila that unfortunately comes up in these types of situations, right? Okay, right. The Torah Rabbanon Dever Be'ir. If there's a plague in the city, right? Don't walk, don't go in the middle of the road. The Malach Hamavas goes in the middle. The Kivan de Yavas le Rishus, since Hashem gave him Rishus, Maski Lahedja, he can walk, he can go right through the middle of the street. Shalom Be'ir, but when there's peace in the city, don't go on the sides of the road. The Kivan de Les le Rishus, Mechabi Chavuya Maski. Since there's no Rishus for him, so then he just hides on the sides. Fine. Dever Be'ir, when there's a Dever in the city, don't go by yourself into the shul. Why? Because the Malach Hamavas keeps his Kalim over there. He hides it in the shul. But that's only if there are children not learning there. And there's no 10 people there. But if there's 10 people there, that will keep away the Malach Hamavas. And if there's kids learning there, that'll keep away the Malach Hamavas. I remember by Corona, so the din is you're supposed to try and dominate the Besmedish, even if you dominate other minions. So I went to YFR and had the whole Besmedish to myself to daven. It was lights off. It was freezing in there. It was lights off, but they had the emergency lights. So l'chayra, that would be the wrong thing to do. I mean, I stopped and I did it once or twice, and then I stopped. But l'chayra, that's the wrong thing to do. The Gemara here says, don't go to shul. If there's nobody going to be there, and if there's no kids learning, there's no minion in it. Don't go to a shul when there's a dever in the city. Right? Fine. Taner Rabbanon, Klavim Baichim, Malach Hamaves Bali'ir. Right? When the dogs bark, and that doesn't bark, and we say when they cry, that means they're crying because the Malach Hamav is coming to the city. Klavim Misachim, when the dogs are laughing, that means Eliyahu Navi Bali'ir, then Eliyahu Navi is coming to the city. The less Bahu Nekeva, but that's all if there's no females around. If there's female dogs around, all bets are off why the men are crying or laughing, right? No different than the humans. Right? Mamish, no different than the humans. No judgments when the females around. But there's an interesting.
Yaakov is very famous. Before like natural disasters, animals have like a sixth sense when it comes to that. They start getting they start getting riled up. Like earthquakes or something like that. Where
dogs, Akiva, or what are we referring to?
There are documented cases where animals have basically
all kinds,
precipitated
too. All kinds of animals.
All kinds of animals, yeah.
So what's a pshat?
I was referring back to the females that Yaakov was talking about.
Are they smarter than humans?
No, they might be tapping into something. They have some type of connection to this, to what's going on outside of our dimension. I don't know. It's above our.
For the earthquakes, is like they sense the frequencies.
Could be.
Right. They have dogs that can go ahead and sense a person before they get a seizure. They'll go ahead and react or do certain things and warn the owner. Or they can have dogs that can also warn the owner if they're about to have like a low blood sugar. and warned them.
Okay. It's pretty wild because of right. And then October 7th, some dogs save people. No, we might see that like that. Dogs, and the army uses dogs now, right? But I saw.
You're right. They also have watches now. They have watches also that they can tell you about your blood sugar.
That's true. Yes, yes. Watchdog.
Yeah, they just took it off the market.
Yeah.
Actually, they put it back on Stroll, but side point.
Okay. Anyway.
Yes, I just didn't understand why we're talking about
Eric,
ladies.
isn't that for after the shear?
All right, I didn't know that. I don't think the ladies should listen to this one about the ladies being a natural disaster coming, but okay.
Anyways, Rav Dov, over there, I saw a Geshmak in the back of the Mesifta, right? That because of this, it says that the dogs cried. I forgot who he brings it from. Something Yehuda on the Chumash. The dogs, when they know that there's a disaster going on, right? So they make noise, whatever it is. So the chol kelev layechet. What's the pasuk? Layechet kelev l'shaynai. So the kelev didn't go, even though it was a time of Malach HaMavis going around because it was going after the Mitzrayim, right? Still, the Klavim did not. They went against this.
We said in brachas. We said in brachas also by the signs of the Mishmar, of the Shmira, the dogs bark at the Chatzais one.
Right.
And it didn't bark. We said that also. So that's two pshatim.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Very good. Okay, back. Yosef Ravami Ravasi. Another interesting Gemara here. So Ravami and Ravasi were sitting Kamed Ravitz of Nafra. One of them said, tell us over a good shir, Geshmak Alumbus. Nah, let's have a schmooze, right? The typical thing. The kid, one kid's, you have the goody who wants to hear the Torah, the other ones want to hear the Geshmak story, right? So Pasach Lemeimer Agadata, he started saying Agadata, but Loy Shavik, they didn't let him.
Must have been Motzi Shabbos.
Well, that's when you're supposed to say stories, right? Veloy Shavik Mar, one didn't let him. Pasach Lemeimer Shmaitza, so then okay, he started Agadata, and one of them didn't let him talk. Whatever that means, you didn't let your Rebbe talk. Okay, Pasach Lemeimer Shmaitza, so then he went to say Shmaitza, Veloy Shavik Mar. And Mar didn't let him talk. What's the mashal for this? A guy has two wives. Achas Yalda v'achas Ken. He has a young wife and an old wife. Yalda milaketes lohi levanos. The younger wife doesn't want him to look like he's so old, so she rips out his white hairs. Sekena milaketes lohi shchayres. And the old wife doesn't want him to look too young, so she rips out the black hairs. Nimtza kerech mikana mikan, right? It's a famous phrase. He's bald from both ends because he's trying to keep everybody happy. He ends up bald with no hair because his white hairs are ripped out by the young wife and the black hairs are ripped out by the old wife.
I have a story for this. Maybe Rivaro. This is the classic Rivaro. People always say to me, like, "Oh, you're starting to get old. You get some white hairs." I say the white hairs are from the children. The no hair is from the wife. So now there's a Beferish Gemara that explains it.
You're right. It's mamish. Yeah, 100%. 100%. But Agrada saw something that he was telling them what you're not allowed to do. It's also to do this. It's loisilbash. Right?
Yeah, that's on him. That's on him. He's not telling his wife to do it. She just does.
You can't let her do it. You can't let her cut off you can't let the woman shave you.
If she does it to her own hair, it's not an isser. So it's for her anyway. So she's doing it too. She's being Mizaka herself by pulling out your hair.
So unless you say that they pulled out all the hair at the same time, both wives pulled all the hair out at the same time. No. Did it happen in stages or it happened in one time? Right?
It's just a muscle. I mean, it's just a muscle.
Just a muscle, right? But I'm just saying, they say, yeah, but see, Michael, the muscle doesn't even work. That's another kasha. What's the muscle?
Uh-huh.
The muscle's like, so neither got any learning done, right? Mm-hmm. One is saying do agarata, and one is saying do learning, and neither got done. Right?
Right.
So that's what the muscle's supposed to be. But from the next line here, he got both done. So then Amarlan, he told them, if that's the case, and I can't get any work done with you, I'm going to say something over that has agarata and regular, which means that he was able to accomplish. So then what does it compare with the muscle, with the pulling out the hair, which you couldn't get? Okay, that's I don't remember what the tirutzim are on that. But yeah, one of the tirutzim was that also it can't be like silbash because women don't go with bald head because that would be ugly. That's a kasha on the chassidim. That's a kasha on the chassidim. Right? Okay, whatever. Yeah.
Yaakov, that's not the only kasha.
That's not the only kasha, but it's a kasha.
I think this is the smallest part of the question.
I hear that. Yeah. So, anyways, the Gemara said, I'm sorry, Amarlen, he says, if that's the case, let me tell you something that's equal for both of you. Right? So, kiseitze eish. Now, this is how we got into this whole Gemara in the first place. Kiseitze eish u'matzah koitzim. Pasuk says, if you send out a fire and you find thorns, teitze me'atzma, it goes out by itself. Shalim yishalim amaveres eivin. Then it says you have to pay the guy who sends out the fire. So what does this mean? Amar, this is the agarata part. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, alai l'shalim esabeira shivarti. It's on me to pay for the fire that I made. What is that? Ani etzisi eish b'tzion. I lit a fire in Tzion to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, and Emariyot it's eish b'tzion v'tokon. So they say, I had the pasuk in Eicha, and he lit a fire in Tzion, and it ate the whole foundation of the Beis Hamikdash. Bani also live nicer beish, and I'm also going to build it with fire. Shenem bani lo chaymas eish savim. We're going to have a wall of fire around it. And there's going to be covered going on inside. So you see that's the agoda, that's the agadata part of this pasuk. So that would keep. We don't know who it was, right? Ravami or Ravasi. One of them would be happy with that because it's agadata. And Shmaitza was with halacha. It's a pasuk hakasa b'niske mamayna. The pasuk starts with the damage that's done by his property, right? Which is a fire that started in his own property that got spread to another property. The sign b'niske gufay, and it finishes with niske gufay. Loim alach to say isha mishum chitzov. And the reason why it talks about that it's gufa is because we're trying to tell, the pasuk's trying to tell you that fire is considered like an arrow, like we were discussing earlier on Amud Aleph. Fire is like an arrow, and therefore it's total responsibility of the guy who started the fire. Fine. Tomorrow I might have to start late. Probably have to start late, unless I do the daf at 5. So I think 5 is too early. So I'm going to do the next Gemara also. That's okay.
It's not another name thing. Well, Rav Yitzchak Nafcha. A Nafcha is a blacksmith, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
He deals with fire. He's talking about Isha.
You want to say that it's Nafcha with fire? Okay. Now for this next Gemara, it's not a hard Gemara, but we need a little bit of background. So in Melachim, so David was, they were the constant back and forth fighting with the Plishtim. So there's a couple of stories that happened with David HaMelech. One is that the Plishtim were hiding in grain, and so they wanted to burn down the grain to get at the Plishtim. That's one. And the other one is that David wanted a drink of water from Beis Lechem, and he sent in some of his powerful guys to go get the water. That's the mashal. And then they brought him the water, and it got spilled. So basically, David, these were mashalim that David had halachic shilas, and he wanted it to go to the Sanhedrin, but he couldn't. They had to break through and put themselves in a sakana to get to the Sanhedrin. So to ask David HaMelech's shilah. So basically, David HaMelech was not happy that they did this. So that's the basic background of the story of what went on. Again, 2 stories. One story is that they wanted to burn things where the Plishtim were hiding under some grain, whether some grain belonged to the Plishtim, some grain belonged to the Yidden. And then you had this story where he sent in. The pasuk talks about he sent them into Beis Lechem to get drinks, and really it was not. It was to ask a shayla from the Sanhedrin. So let's see. But Yisava David desired it, meaning he wanted the water. By Yomer, who's going to give me what to drink from the bar of Beis Lechem? And that's by the gates. And they broke through the three Giborim, the strong man, broke through the Plishtim, and they got the water, and they brought it to David HaMelech. Right? And then he spilled it out, David HaMelech. So my kami boiler, what was David asking? Right? So Amar Rabba, Amar, so the Gemara is going to say three pshat in what David HaMelech Shaila was. Amar Rabba, Amar Nachman, Taman be'esh kami boiler, which is why we get into this Gemara. He wanted to know what's the psak if something gets hidden under grain and you burn it. Are you responsible for something that was hidden under, Taman be'esh? Ikar Rabbi Yehuda, Ikar Rabbanim. Do we hold like Rabbi Yehuda or do we hold like Rabbanim, which is the tomorrow's daf as Hashem, whether if you burn something down and there's something hidden under it, is it chayav or not? Upashtulei, and they answered what they answered. The Gemara doesn't go through what they answered, but that was the shiloh. Taman be'esh chayav or not? That's the first shot. There were piles of barley that belonged to Yidden. When the Plishtim were hiding, right? It sounds familiar, right? The Plishtim were hiding in the grass, whatever it is. So another major shiloh. Are you allowed to save yourself with the mammon of your friend? Right? Now Taisa says, of course, if it's pikuach nefesh, right, you save yourself. The question is, are you mechuyev to pay for the damage? Sort of what we had yesterday's daf with Mavriach Ari, right? When you chase a guy chases lions away, is he entitled to get paid, etc.? So that's the same type of shiloh David HaMelech is asking. They sent back to him, you're not allowed to save yourself with the money of your friend. But you're a king. A king has what do you call it? Is that eminent domain? Is that
yes.
Yes.
But you have to pay. The eminent domain you have to pay. The government pays.
So I don't know if the king has to pay or not. But you certainly can't make a machah. I don't know. Does the king have to pay?
Isn't that the heter for the spirit of shus by Erev?
No, that's why there's no heter.
I'm saying, but that's where the whole heter comes.
If you have eminent domain, if you could talk to say eminent domain, whether that's the heter for the Erev, yeah. But Rabbanon, so that's a second shot. That was a shiloh if he's allowed to save himself by using something else from Yid. Rabbanon, there were piles of barley that belonged to Yidden, the Plishtim, and then there were piles of lentils that belonged to the Plishtim. And the Shaila he asked from the Sanhedrin was can he take the barley to feed his animals, Amanas l'shalim, to pay them, right? Amanas l'shalim, Kedishin shaladoshim, the Plishtim, on condition that he's going to pay them back with lentils from the Plishtim, meaning he's going to use the Yiddish of barley, pay them back with the Plishtim's stuff. So Shochalei, Chavo Yashiv Rasha Gzeli Shalim. A Rasha has to pay back his Geneva. Even though he has to pay back his Geneva or Gazela, but he's still a Rasha. You're a king, or Melech Paretz Lasses like that. And Melech can do whatever he wants, and you don't make a machal. Fine, so those are the three pshatim. The three pshatim again that David HaMelech asked the Sanhedrin was one, is Taman Be'esh, who do we pass on? Like if you make a fire and there's something hidden under there, you chayav or not? That was question number one. Question number two is, are you allowed to save yourself using another Yid's property? And question number three was, can he take, which is similar to question number two, is that can he take the barley from a Yid and pay it back with the Plishtim things? Fine. So Bishlam
if you hold that maybe not. If you hold that Nezek is an Isser,
then maybe that's an Isser. Yeah, I hear. So anyway, so Bishlam Lamanda Omar Lachlufe. So according to the Manda Omar, who says that he just wanted to switch the barley for the beans, that's why it says one pasuk, right? It says Vatihi Sham Chelkas Asada Milei Adoshin. He had a chelik in the field full of lentils. Then it says another pasuk that it was full of barley. But according to Mandamar, it says that the question he asked is whether he's allowed to burn down the field. Why do we need two psukim that talk about barley and talk about lentils? He's going to tell you the Havanami Kedishim da Adoshim di Yisrael, because there were also piles of lentils that belonged to Yidden da Havamitamer with Plishtim, that the Plishtim were hiding in that. Meaning, so they don't think it was just barley; it was both barley and lentils. Fine. Whereas it's got according to Mandama that says that he wanted to know if he could burn down these piles. And he stood in middle of the chelik and he saved it. Right? So then Mameli had to stay, he had to sit in those things and make sure they didn't get burned down, because Sanhedrin told me he's not allowed to burn it down. But according to Mandama, it says that his whole shiloh was whether he was allowed to swap out the Jewish barley for the non-Jewish lentils. What does it mean that he saved it? He didn't let him make the swap.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Maisa with the Mount Ephraim Pesach.
No.
So he was roved. It was broad. The city was broad. So they got a message that over Pesach, there's a whole bunch of soldiers in there was Austria-Hungary Empire. You know, so the whole bunch of soldiers were coming to Broad for Pesach. So he called a meeting, and they wouldn't have enough food for them. So he called a meeting, and he said he learned this. So he says he's going to be mate kidneys. The people said, "You're going to give Jewish soldiers kidneys?" He says, "No, I'm giving you guys kidneys. You're giving the soldiers all your matzahs, and you're all eating kidneys. All the balabatim are mate kidneys for you, and you're giving all your matzah to the soldiers."
Yeah. I heard that. Very good. Very interesting. Wow. Very good. Okay, so Bishlam Mahani Tarti. Somebody say it's good that these two, right? That they wanted to swap out the last two terutzim, which is that they wanted to burn the barley, right? Or they wanted to swap it out. Hani l'siv trei kroi. That's what it says to psukim on Tamar Aleph. But according to the Mandama that says Taman Be'esh, right? My boile cry. Why do you need these? Why do you need these psukim? So Amalach Taman B'chadam Hanach Kami Boile. He really asked two shilas. He asked about Taman, whether Taman Be'esh is chayv or not, and he also asked whether the way he could swap it out or whether he could just take it. So then Bishlam, again, now we're going through all the different variables. So the first two, we understand David didn't want to drink the water. That's the mashal. Amar Kivadiki Surah, since there's an Isser, meaning since there's an Isser for a normal person. Right, what was the answer? That since he's a melech, he's allowed to save himself with Yiddish things, but a normal person wouldn't be able to. So he says, I don't want a heter done only for a king. But according to Mandam, it says that it was Taman Be'esh, Michti, Gemarahu, the Shalchalei. They sent him a Gemara, meaning they sent him a halacha. Right? Why didn't he want to drink it? I mean, why wasn't he Makabel? Right? They told him, but the psak was a Taman Be'esh. The Gemara didn't say what they told him, but the Gemara told him what Taman Be'esh is. So why did he refuse it? So a very interesting answer. The Layam Rinu Mishmai. He didn't want to say it in their name. Omar Kach Mekuvlani Beis Din Shmuel or Ramasi. David says, I was makabel from the Beis Din of Shmuel. Anybody who gives himself over to die al divrei Torah, meaning, and he's not supposed to, meaning somebody who puts his life in danger, in order to do a mitzvah, then we don't say anything over in his name because he was wrong. He was wrong for doing it. So since these Giborim put their lives in danger to go to the Sanhedrin, I'm not saying over Torah. So that's what it meant. That's why he spilled it out. Even though the psak was the psak. And he spilled it out to Hashem. He spilled out the water. How many says these the two, right? Meaning because he's either swapping the grain for the lentils, or whether he's allowed to save himself with the property of a yid, Mishum David l'shem shamayim, right? Because he did it l'shem shamayim, he didn't want to be makabel the kula. What does it mean he poured it out to Hashem? He was just the psak. He got a psak. Why was he not listening to the psak? What does that have to do with Hashem? So the answer is Damrinu Mishma de Gemara. Meaning he said it in the name of Gemara, he didn't say it in the name of any specific person. Right? Meaning he was just saying, he didn't say it over B'Shem the Sanhedrin specifically, he said it over B'Shem. He just said it over that this would be the din. Okay. I'm sorry for going longer, but I can't. Tomorrow I'll probably have to start closer to 9 o'clock. So yeah, I'll text it out. Fine. Let's say some Tillim.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, have a good night.
Tehillim.
Yeah, Tillim. Pay Gimel. Okay. Shimmer's Balasaf. Elim Adam Milach Hatechrash Valtishkoid El Ki Nea Yevecha Yamanu Masanecha Nasu Rosh Alamcha Yarim Usaid Yisial to Al Tzvanecha Amru Chuban Apidim Begav V'Lei Zach Hashem Yisrael Oid Kinotu Legachto Alecha B'Sich Roisu Alei Edem Yishmelim Ayov Hagrim Kvav Aman V'Amalek Peleshus Yesh Vitzar Gam Ashar Nuva Imam Hay Israel V'Nei Leitzela Selim Kimidyon Kisisro V'Yav Menach Lakisha Nishrudu Ve'edar Hayidam El Adama Shesemen in the Vemikoyer V'Kazeva V'Tzeva V'Tamuna Kol Nisichem Asher Amru V'Shalom Ois Nois Elihim Alei Shesemen Kagalgo Kakash Lifnei Ruach Keish Devar Yorach Lavat Lahit Harim Ketir the famous Saracha V'Sifasol S'Valem Alei Fneim Kolin V'Raksh Shemcha Adonai Yevosh V'Yivalu Adeya V'Yachru V'Yavedu V'Yedu Ki Ata Shemcha Adonai Levadecha El Yoino Kol Oretz Achinu Kaveis Yisrael Hanasurim Batzara V'Shivya V'Malkim Yerachem Aleim Batzara V'Eloy V'Yivad the Gula I'm out of it. Okay, so the Spivus and right. Okay, Zaydu.
Oh yeah. Half of this capital is tonight's stuff.
Is it?
Flashes and Yoshvitzoyer. We have all the fire. We'll hover to the
yeah. Very good.
Where's he straw? He left?
Yeah, he wasn't looking for a fight.
Why were the two Yisrael Steins on tonight? One of his kids is joining the dog?
Yeah.